I need, and hi, Angie, can you allow me to, do my video, please?
You should have permission.
Yeah, it says I can't start the video. The host has stopped it.
Madam Press, can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Edgar, I can hear you.
Thank you.
You should see a button that will allow you to access it now.
Same message. I'm hitting
Yeah.
my start video.
Yeah, I can't get nothing either.
Yeah, how we have it set up is just the speaker would actually, but anyway, I'm
You've
gonna
all
be
been promoted to
respectful.
host. You've all been promoted to host. You should see a button that appears. Just click the button and you will be a host and you should be able to share your screen.
It won't let me show my video. That's all right. As long as I can hear you.
Mm, hold on. Sorry, you all.
It's always something. Hmm.
Um, yeah, Angie, it is still not allowing me to start video. Normally I can just push that button, but it is not doing so.
Try it now.
Same
No,
thing.
I ain't doing nothing.
Mr. Edgar, yeah,
What you
we're
doing
just
back?
gonna get started. Because again, I want to be respectful of people's time. It says I am now a host. I got that. There I am. All
Let's,
right.
let's see you now.
Okay, very good. Thank you all so much for your patience. We are actually going to get started. So I want to say thank you to everybody who's taken that you're taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. So I say thank you as I do every month. Um, we do have a full agenda today. I am now going to turn it over to Angie to do our in-house Zoom rules.
Could you give me host permission, please?
Hold on, Angie. Where are you?
And while you're doing that, I'll just run through it. So as you can see, we're using a new method. So bear with us
You
as
got it.
we work out the kinks and whatnot. Similar to our previous meetings, we ask that during the question and answer periods that you raise your hands. When you raise your hands, as we see your hands are raised, we will give you authorization to speak and ask your question. We ask that you keep your comments brief and focused to eliminate any background noise during the session. And we also ask that you keep your questions to 30 seconds just for given the fact that we are limited on time tonight. We ask that there's no shouting or inappropriate language used during the meeting, given that we're all adults. And we ask that you just follow the instructions above to eliminate being ousted from the room or causing any interruption. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Angie. In line with that, I do want to apologize for some unmuting that was going on at our last meeting. We have actually switched our Zoom to a webinar format. Some of you all may be familiar with this format, but this is the format that is actually used for all of the ANC commissions. And we used it when we did our candidates forum. Again, it allows for less interruption, and it allows us to actually be able to keep our meeting moving in respect for time. So we will be using that format going forward. So going to the agenda. But again, I wanted to just apologize for interruptions that happened to happen. People were unmuting themselves and just started to talk. We can all sing together, but we all can't talk at the same time. So the invocation, as you all that were on the meeting last month, Reverend Paul, Reverend Paul will be in Africa for 2 months. And so for the invocation for this meeting, I am just going to ask that we do a moment of silence. I ask all of those on here to just have a moment of silence to keep our community, keep our neighbors, keep our political leaders in mind as we just have a moment of silence. Thank you. Okay. According to the agenda here, we're going to do now our officers' reports, our minutes, and our treasurer's report. Do we have Audrey on? Is the treasurer Audrey on? I think I just got a text from her. Hold on. Oh, she said she's on.
She's being promoted to panelist. She'll be here shortly.
Okay, great.
Okay, hi, I can't start my video because it says I'm not able to, but I'll go ahead
You'll
and
do so
let
now.
the treasurer. Okay. Can you see me now? Okay, great. Good
We
evening.
can.
Great. Good evening, everyone. I'm here to present the LRCA Treasurer's Report for March 6, 2023. The beginning balance was $7,994.21. Deposits included $1,202.41 in membership dues and $90 in a scholarship donation for a total of $1,292.41. We had one expense this past month, and that was for our USPS PO box, which cost $230. And our ending balance is $9,056.62. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Audrey, for that report. We're going to move on now to the minutes. As you all know, the minutes are actually printed on page 3. It's been that way forever that I can remember. The minutes are actually on page 3 of the newsletter. So hopefully you all have, and it's always online. Can I get a motion to accept the February 2023 2023 minutes as they were printed in the March 2023 newsletter.
Motion to approve.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, so it has been moved in second that we accept the minutes as they were printed in the March 2023 newsletter. Angie, are we able to, in this format, unmute everyone?
People can raise their hands.
Okay, so all in favor, please use the button down there to raise your hand. Any nays? You can put your hands down. Any nays? Any abstentions? I don't see any hands raised. Audrey and Danielle, you all can put your hands down. Okay, thank you. All right, we're gonna move on through the agenda. We are now gonna go to Jim Lewis from Councilmember Janice Lewis George's office will not be on tonight. And he just wanted to mention that, of course, the performance oversight hearings are over, and now they go into the budget season. He didn't have any major updates, but you can always reach out to Councilmember Janice Lewis George's office. Do we have someone here from Councilmember Zachary Parker's office?
Oh, we do. I'm going to promote him.
Here.
Okay, we have Carlos McKnight from Councilmember Parker's office, and he is, look at that face. How are you?
Good evening. How are you, Ms. Rogers?
I am good. And for those of you all who don't know, he is also a Riggs Park resident. The floor is yours.
Wonderful. I am going to share my screen. Is that okay with everyone?
Yep. Go ahead.
All right, let me pull up my presentation real quick. I love how technology likes to freeze when you're ready for it to work. So bear with me for a quick second. Let's see. All right. So I'm going to share my screen. Let me know when you see it. All right. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Wonderful. All right. So again, I want to introduce myself for anyone who does not know me. My name is Carlos McKnight. I am one of Councilmember Zachary Parker's constituent service coordinators. I oversee ANCs 5A and 5B. 5C. 5A includes Riggs Park. So this is the community I am a part of. I've lived here since 2000. And so this has been my neighborhood. I've seen the neighborhood grow and change over time. And so I live in the neighborhood. And so I love to be with the folks who are in my community. So we put together a presentation that I wanted to share with you all tonight. And I will be as quick as possible going through this. So first, I just wanted to fully introduce our staff. If you want to get in contact with us, you can email our general email, which is ward5contact@dccouncil.gov. And if there are any people on the phone or any people on the chat who wanted to write down the contact information later, I will put it in the chat. Or you can reach us by phone at 202-724-8028. And so in our staff, we have Rachel Roberts, who is the chief of staff. She serves as the head of our staff and kind of keeps our staff rolling and making sure that we are doing our best for the residents of Ward 5. Under her is Connor Shaw, who is the deputy chief of staff. He also helps Kendra Wiley, who is our legislative director. with policy and things of that nature. We just recently introduced our very first major piece of legislation, which I'll talk about a little bit later on in the presentation. So we're very excited about that, but we also introduced some other things that I will talk about as well. Next, we have Melissa Littlepage, who is incredible at her job. She does a wonderful job putting out our weekly newsletter every week, which is very, very informative, which I will share how you can get on that list. It's a very amazing exclusive. I'm going to call it, it's really exclusive, and you're really going to have access to some amazing information about what's going on in our city and in our ward. Then you have myself, Sam Bonner, and Oliver Stout, who are the constituent service coordinators for the council member. So we basically are the folks on the ground who listen to concerns of the residents and make sure we can have that correspondence between the resident and the agency that they need an issue resolved with. So we're going ahead. If you want to stay connected with us, I said earlier we have a newsletter that's put together by Melissa. How you can get on that newsletter, you can go to ward5.us/newsletter, and I'll put that in the chat for you all. You can also see our previous newsletter from past weeks. If you want to meet with the council member, he has office hours, which is the ward5.us/office hours. And you can also stop by us at the Wilson Building at 1350 Pennsylvania Avenue Northeast. I see there's a timer, and so I'm sorry I'm going over time. I can stop here if you'd like me to.
No, go ahead and take a few more minutes.
All right. And so if you're on social media, you can follow us on Facebook at Councilmember Zachary Parker. And if you're on Twitter and Instagram, you can follow us at CMZParker5 on both platforms. So just to give you a little bit of overview of what's going on, we have new legislation that we introduced that I'm going to talk about. And also the councilman wanted us to give a update on the Chief Financial Officer's report on the city. So first, to talk about the major highlights, at the end of Black History Month, the council member introduced 8 pieces of legislation honoring 8 individuals who live in Ward 5 or who impacted Ward 5 in a major way. All across the ward, we have from Brookland to Bloomingdale, and then from Trinidad to Truxton Circle. A couple of the people that we wanted to highlight were former council member Julius Hobson Sr. For many folks who may have known him, he was a quite staunch activist against school desegregation, and he was a big supporter in the early days for DC statehood. We also had Edna Brown Coleman, for many people who are members of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated on the call, you may know her. She was a founder of that sorority, and she lived and grew up in DC. And we also want to honor folks like her brother, Sterling A. Brown, who lived in Brookland and was the district's first poet laureate, excuse me. That's a very hard word to say. And so we wanted to just highlight these 8 individuals who sometimes get overlooked in our history. And so we wanted to set that in stone of these people who did great things for our city and also for our nation. So now we introduce our major piece of legislation, which is the Council Members District Child Tax Credit Amendment Act of 2023. So the goal of this bill is that we want to be able to provide families in the district and also across our ward access to care for their children. And so the major takeaway from this legislation is that we want to create a child tax credit that provides up to $500 per child. And we also want to be able, for low and middle income individuals that make less than $1,200,000. And so this is a major piece of legislation so we can make sure that we raise the financial floor for families who are struggling so they can be able to take care of their kids and their families. And then lastly, I'm just going to go through this briefly. The Chief Financial Officer had updated his projections for the city, and he was talking about things such as our hotel tax revenue. And I can share this information with the secretary so that you can post this in your minutes on the website. He also talked about our tax revenues and things like that. So we're seeing a different trajectory for our city than what was previously proposed. And so this is something that the council member wanted to highlight to you all, and I can stop here if anyone has any questions or would like to share anything with me that I can take back to the council member or address. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen, and I'm sorry I took a little bit too long.
That's okay. You actually used Councilmember Janice Lewis George's time, so you're good. Do we have any questions for Carlos McKnight? We have anything in the chat?
You can raise your hand if you're viewing via the PC, or you can do *69 if you are listening to us by phone to raise your hand.
Angie, we enabled the chat,
I'm
right?
sorry. Chat should be enabled, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And actually, I'm sorry, if you're on the phone, it's *6 if you'd like to raise and unmute your mic, *9 if you'd like to raise and lower your hand.
We see anything? If not, Carlos, you're getting off easy tonight.
This is Heather. There are, but it looks like if the chat's working, then we're good. I don't see any questions on the chat though.
Actually, one moment. And go ahead, if you need to place something in the chat, go ahead and place something in the chat.
Okay, Heather, did you have a question?
No, sorry.
Oh, no problem. Okay, thank you so much, Carlos, for that update. You want to maybe put your name and phone number in the chat?
Yes, definitely. And I'll share that in the chat right now.
Thank you so much. Okay, we're going to move now to we did reach out to the MPD to come on and give us, public community, public safety kind of update for our neighborhood. No one was able to join us. But what I did get from Officer Hamrick was instructions on how to print the crime data we're in PSA 406. I haven't yet tried it, but maybe going forward, we can actually do that and look at what crime has been reported. All right, we're going to move on to our ANCs. Do we have Commissioner Allison Brooks?
We do. I'm promoting her to speaker.
Great, thank you. Oh, and can you also promote Sophia? She's here.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I don't think I have the ability to turn my camera on. I think that Angie would have to do that for me.
Yes, you should. I actually gave you permission.
Okay, I didn't get anything other than my being promoted to panelist. But that is okay, because since my hair is not done as normal, you could leave me off. It's fine. I can just go. I think everybody knows who I am. But for those that don't, I am the ANC Commissioner for Single Member District 4B08, and I also happen to be the chair of the commission. And so my update is that of the 4B08 commissioner. I wanted to bring to everyone's attention that we are going to have a neighborhood cleanup. South Manor Neighborhood Association, which I also support, is having a neighborhood cleanup on Saturday, March 25th at 10 a.m. We're meeting at the South Manor neighborhood sign at the intersection of North Capitol and Longfellow Streets. And we have the support of Phi Beta Sigma fraternity, and hopefully we'll have a lot of people out to clean a lot of areas, because as we all know, we could afford to clean up a little bit in the community. So that's something that we'll be doing as a group, and hope to have you participate. In our last ANC meeting, Linda Harley Harper, who is the newly appointed director of the ONES office, attended the meeting, and like everyone, is very concerned about the gun violence in our community. And she spent some time discussing programming that the ONES office will be endeavoring in the hopes of reducing gun violence in the community. I would advise everyone to take a look at the website. The Office of Neighborhood Engagement and Safety is the district agency. The abbreviation is ONES. upcoming on the March 27th ANC meeting, we will be receiving a presentation from OUC, which is the Office of Unified Communications. And as some of you know, there have been some problems on this end of the ward with when you dial 911, you end up getting Maryland representation and not DC. So that's one of the things that we plan to discuss at that time. And just lastly, my newsletter, which I email to some and hand deliver to others, will be going out in about 2 weeks. And if you are within my boundaries and wish to receive the newsletter electronically and do not currently do so, I would appreciate it if you could email me and provide me with your email address. And with that, I can stop and take any questions that people might have.
Do we have any questions for Commissioner Brooks?
And by the way, I don't know that I have access. Oh, I do have access to the chat. So I will put my contact information in the chat as well.
Thank you.
If you're on the phone and you have a question, go ahead and hit *6 to unmute yourself and *9 to raise your hand, and we will give you authorization to talk. And if you are on the video chat with us, go ahead and raise your hand and we will give you permission to talk.
And can I make, I'm sorry, while we're hanging out to see if anybody has a question, I wanted to make 2 more quick points. There are always things that I forget to say. One of which is that we've reached out to the storage facility on 3rd Street to ask them to clean up as well. We're hoping to get some of the people on the 25th over there to clean up their area. But since that's private property, that really is their responsibility, and we're really not allowed to go on their property and just start cleaning. So I have gotten a couple of comments from folks about the problem over there with the garbage, but we are working towards a resolution that involves them cleaning it up. We've called them. I've asked someone from Councilmember Louis George's office to also make a call with regard to that as well. So thank you.
Allison, I will
Yes.
say I actually made that call to them yesterday.
Okay.
About the trash. I don't know if it was something dumped there, but like you said, regardless, it's private property, it's their property, and so they really need to clean up that trash.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I did not realize Sophia Tacola was on the line. She's from the Mochas in the mayor's office. Sophia.
Hello, everybody. Before I begin, can my partner please come on as well, Derek Johnson?
Yes, I've sent him a couple of different invitations to join us and he hasn't accepted yet. So he just needs to do it one more time. He just needs to accept the request. There he is.
Perfect. Well, hello, everybody. It's nice to hear some of your voices. Thank you so much for having both of us here. For those who don't know what MOCR stands for, that's the Mayor's Office of Community Relations and Services. And so we act as a community liaison between our community and with the Mayor's office. I represent 4A, 4B, and 4C. Derek Johnson is my partner. Derek, would you like to say where you will be representing?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? My volume was down.
No worries. We're introducing about where you will be representing.
I don't have that exactly right in front of me. I'm so sorry.
No worries. So Derek will be with 4D, 3G/4G, and then 4E. And so some of the news that we wanted to bring to you guys today is some changes in the area. The nightlife corridor, the extra public safety with the Deputy Mayor of Public Safety is adding Georgia Avenue to the corridor. So we'll have extra security over there. We also have DC just received a grant to retain mental health professionals in school to help with quite a bit of the things our youth, especially in Ward 4, have been seeing and going through, which is super important. It is also important to note that the Department of Buildings, our director, has stepped down and is in the process of stepping down, which is very important to acknowledge that there is now a new opening coming up in the Department of Buildings. We also, which is so crazy, I'm about to say this, but all COVID centers in DC will be closing on March 31st, which is like, whoa, because it's crazy to think about how long that we've been talking about COVID. So we're coming to it. Now, we talked about this recently, but I wanted to stress again that we have a record rate of cars being stolen, and these are Kias and Hyundais. And so if you go to the 4D police station and you show proof that you have a Kia and Hyundai, you will receive clubs as a protection tool to make sure that your car doesn't get stolen. We also have a new grant opportunity. So we have the 2023 Aspire grant. And so this grant is a business opportunity for people coming out of incarceration, who are on parole or probation, who are truly wanting to give back to the community, change from things in the past, and make sure that they are helping the corridors back to being beautiful. And we see this quite a bit in Kennedy Street, where people are coming back to change Kennedy Street's reputation. And so I think that's absolutely wonderful. And please look out for the grants. And if you know someone who has a business and wants to be a part of it, that is very important. And two last things, I'll make this really quick. One thing, super exciting news. DC, come the year 2025, will officially be hosting World Pride. And so it's a little bit off, but also super exciting that we have the opportunity to host so many people that are in this community. And lastly, on a bit of a more sadder note, we had 5 violent crimes in Ward 4 in the span of 7 days. And those crimes have ranged from unlawful discharge, hitting cars and buildings, to a youth being stabbed, to a individual being murdered in Petworth Library, to an individual being murdered on the street, as well as several gunshot victims. And because of this, we are doing an emergency public safety walk that the mayor will be present, and this is on Wednesday. So if you are wanting to come out, please share with your community that on Wednesday at 4 o'clock, we are requesting everyone in Ward 4 to come out to the Petworth in Georgia Metro Station, and we will be walking throughout the community, identifying some of the big crime areas in Petworth. And the reason we're choosing Petworth is this is where all the crimes were happening alongside, and in addition to the one on Kennedy Street. It's important to know that as well. And Petworth has had an exceedingly amount of rapid violent crime at an exorbitant rate. And so that is why Petworth was chosen for this. And this will be this upcoming Wednesday. I open the floor to any questions.
Thank you so much, Sophia. Sophia and I are like, cousins, because we are at these scenes, at the crime scenes. That is part of what I do in the council member's office. So we have connected at these sites. This is very unfortunate. I think that is a great thing that we're doing a public safety walk. And then just yesterday, at the Petworth Metro, there was a vigil for the young man that was actually killed at the library.
Mm-hmm.
So again, we just got to stay, look out for each other, look out for your neighbor, and just continue to, keep our neighborhoods uplifted. Do we have any questions for Sophia? I see that Rodney had raised his hand about public safety. This is not a public safety meeting. But if you have a question for Sophia, then please ask your question. Any questions for Sophia? I see Rodney's hand is up.
I don't have a question for Sophia. I put something in the chat to be recognized and had my hand up to raise a question during the public safety discussion, but I wasn't recognized, so I'm not sure what to do now.
Okay, right now we're going to take questions for Sophia. So we will get back to you, Rodney. Any questions for Sophia right now?
I have one.
Hello,
Can you hear
Commissioner.
me? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, well, thank you very much. And Sophia, thank you for that. As many of you know, I work for the Mayor's Office on Returning Citizens. And the We Aspire program is a program that we promote as well for entrepreneurs. It's you do a pitch. Everybody across the board gets $2,000. The winner gets 10, and it goes down to 85, 65, and etc. And I'm also doing an entrepreneurship track that's not inclusive of Aspire, but the Aspire program is an awesome program that helps develop viable businesses and brands, as well as Pivot program at Georgetown. So thank you so much for mentioning that. I really appreciate that. And I'm hoping that I can come out on the walk on Wednesday.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right, LaRoya, so did you you just wanted to make that statement. You didn't have an actual question?
No, just the statement that about the program. So folks know it's a viable, meaningful program. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Sophia before we let her go? Angie, do you see any? Because I can't see the
I
hand.
do not see any hands raised. If there's
Okay, thank you so much, Sophia. I appreciate it. I'm sure you may have to hop on another meeting, but thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody, for having us. It is greatly appreciated, and I look forward to seeing you Wednesday, 4 p.m. at the Georgia Petworth Metro Station. And I'll put my information in the chat.
All right, thank you. We're moving down the ANC list. Is Mr. Michael Cohen on? Commissioner Cohen, I should say.
I do believe he is. One moment, please.
And while you're promoting him, I see, Rodney, you said you want to share your public safety concerns. You've shared that for 2 meetings. We've had public safety meetings. Again, as we said at the last meeting, there are sector meetings where you can talk directly to the commander. There are CAC meetings held at the 4th District, but this is not a public safety meeting. We are all concerned about public safety, and we do appreciate your concern. So did we get Commissioner Cohen promoted?
I'm here.
Hi, Commissioner.
Hello, thank you for having me, Chair Rogers. I just wanted to give a few brief updates about 4B07, specifically the Lamond area, which is north of Kansas Avenue and west of Eastern Avenue. We're going to be holding a cleanup, a pop-up, what we're calling a pop-up cleanup on March 18th from 9:30 a.m. till 11 a.m. Because we have 3 distinct neighborhoods within 4B07. The folks from the Lamond group are going to be starting at the post office around North Capitol Street, so North Capitol and Sheridan, and working their way up towards First and Van Buren. Anyone who is in the Tacoma part of our SMD will be starting at Walnut and Eastern and working their way to First and Van Buren. And anyone in Manor Park will be starting at 2nd Street Northwest and Peabody Street Northwest, also heading towards First and Van Buren. And we'll be providing bags and gloves and rakes and pickers, and hopefully inviting some special guests from various agencies and the mayor's office and so forth. I also wanted to mention that I do office hours every Wednesday at the Lamond Recreation Center. Those are from 12 to 1 in person, and then I do office hours after that virtual from 1 until 2. So you can call me or Zoom me during that time. I was hoped to mention the Ward 4 Commission on Aging, which is a group of individuals who meet frequently and discuss topics on aging, and also was encouraged to mention the events going on at Lamond Rec Center during the day time for seniors. I want to plug my website again, www.cohen4bo7.com, where I have some resources on there, both in terms of information for seniors, how to have free tax prep done, things like that. I've also included the bulletin board from Lamond Recreation Center, which includes events for seniors. And also have a section on public safety, which lists out all the different public safety events going on, sector meetings, CIC meetings, bond fire, paint and peace, the whole 9 yards. It just has sort of a breakdown. I also have a newsletter that should be going out relatively soon that covers a lot of these items. I tend to send it in the first week or so of each month. And if you want to join, you can go to my website and include your email address and you'll be added. And that is all from me.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Commissioner Cohen?
If you are on the phone again, if you have a question, *6 to unmute yourself and *9 to raise your hand, and we will allow you to speak.
Any
And
questions?
Mr. Cohen, if you could drop all your information into the chat for the users, that would be great. Thank you.
I sure will. Thanks for having me.
Yes, and I will ask that all the commissioners actually do that. Drop your information in the chat. We're going to move now. Is Commissioner Carlos Kozart on? I see he had already put his information in the chat. Did he have to hop off?
I am promoting him now. One moment, please.
Wonderful.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Commissioner.
Let me turn my camera on for you all. Hey, good evening, everyone.
Hi.
I will keep it brief. I just wanted you all to see my face. I'm Carlos Kozart, ANC 5 AO2. I have the southeastern tip of the Civic Association for Lamond-Riggs. So I wanted to just put my information out there, show my face. We do have a couple events going on. Everything is listed on the website. I admonish everyone to use it. I try to keep it updated as often as possible, at least weekly. We have a couple good events going on towards the end of March that I hope you all can be a part of. Again, in the spirit of keeping it brief, I'll leave it there unless there are any specific questions.
Any questions?
Okay, do we have any questions for Commissioner Kozart?
There appears to be one. One moment, please.
Thank you.
Hi, Commissioner Kozart.
Hey.
There's a lot of trash along the National Park Service land on Sargent Road, Sargent and Galloway. I was just wondering if maybe there's any interest in organizing a cleanup of that area.
Yes, actually, our cleanup day is on March 25th as well, starting at 9 a.m.
Okay.
We were going to start at Union Wesley. However, based on your input, it may be a good idea to start on that end. And I'd be more than happy to get National Park Service involved, as well as in additional organizations in that area as our starting point. But yes, it is on the calendar and that's scheduled for March 25th at 9 a.m.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for Commissioner Kozart?
*9 to raise your hand if you're on the phone.
I just want to say thank you so much. It's good to put a face with a name. We look forward to you coming back to our meetings. I try to text you the link because sometimes that's easier.
It was very helpful.
People.
Thank you for that. It was very helpful. Hey, I appreciate all the work that you are doing. I'm always impressed when I see the civic associations and the work that they do in the community. I'm proud to be a part of this concerted effort. So again, my information is in the chat. Whatever y'all need from me, just let me know.
And looks like we do.
Okay, thank you so much.
It looks like we do have a question.
Oh, hold on. Okay.
Go ahead, Rodney.
Is there? Rodney, you have
questions.
a question for Commissioner Cozart?
No, no questions.
Okay. Thank you so much, Commissioner Cozart. We look forward to seeing you next month.
Thank y'all. Have a good
All
one.
right. You too. All right, we're gonna move on to, is Commissioner Malone on?
I do not see him.
Okay, we're gonna go to Commissioner Audrey Walker.
Hello again. I just wanted to update you. I know there has been a lot of safety concerns with several shootings happening, particularly in and 4B09. I just got an alert today from MPD that they will be hosting their monthly sector meetings, and they will be spelling out what the monthly crime stats are. The first one is this Thursday at 7 p.m. And so again, MPD will update you on the crime issues and also take community questions and talk about community outreach events. I think it's really important. This is for everybody. If you're really concerned about the safety in your neighborhood, I encourage you to attend. They say it's every Thursday at 7 p.m., but the dates that I have is March 9th. That's this Thursday at 7, Tuesday, March 14th at 6, and Wednesday, March 22nd at 6 o'clock as well. I will put the link in the chat. It's the same link that you can use, same password. I highly encourage you all to attend those meetings and voice your concerns because it would be directly to MPD. And then what else? Oh, so I'm the new commissioner and I understand that I should be hosting monthly meetings. So I will resume 4B09 monthly meetings on March 16th. I am in the process of getting all my constituents emails so that you are aware. And then I will have my website up and running by then. So then I can start posting newsletters and events on the website. So look out for that. I know I got a few emails about when those meetings will be held. And the format will be office hours. You know, you can come address your concerns and we will try our best to get to the bottom of your concerns. And then also, I know that I had a few residents reach out to me about 311 concerns. They call 311, some of their concerns go unanswered. I encourage you to, I attended a training with DDOT a few weeks ago. I encourage you to save your ticket numbers. And if those are, and if those concerns are not addressed in a timely manner, please email me or your commissioner with that ticket number because they have a portal for us to access so we can kind of research and get to the bottom of why those concerns have not been addressed. So again, please make sure you save your ticket numbers. And if some time has passed and you have not heard anything back or your issue is not resolved, please contact your ANC so they can kind of run it up and figure out what the holdup is. So yeah, those are all the reports that I have. I will drop my information in the chat, and then I'm going to drop as well the link to the monthly sector meetings. And again, it's March 9th at 7 o'clock. I'll be on, and I encourage you all to be on to voice your concerns about the uptick in crime in our community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Commissioner. I actually just got the email today from Officer Robert Hamrick. There are different sector meetings. Our sector is Sector 2. And that meeting is held the second Tuesday of every month. So we did post it on our listserv the last meeting, which I think got canceled and rescheduled. We will post this one. I think I sent it to be posted to the listserv today. So if you're on our listserv, you can actually just click on the link to be able to join the meeting. The meeting is 1 hour long. And again, it's really not a lot of people. They have maybe 10 people. So that's why we're encouraging people with public safety concerns to get on these meetings. And then you can have your concerns heard directly by the commander is on almost every meeting. And then you can get your concerns and questions answered there. So thank you so much. Do we have any questions for Commissioner
It looks like
Audrey.
a question and answer from Rodney, who has a question for Commissioner Walker.
Okay.
Hi, Commissioner Walker. I just want to say thank you for having these meetings. Some of us don't feel comfortable in going to the police station and talking about our public safety concerns. Some of us may not have the time and our transportation. So I'm glad that you're doing it. I wish other organizations would do this as well, but it will provide us an opportunity to share what's happening in our single member district, if not other parts of LRCA. So thanks very much. I got the 16th. Please let us know when you have a time and location. If you have it now, can you put that in the chat, please? And announce it for those who are on the phone.
Yes, what I'll do is I'll start creating my Zoom link and then I'll put it in the chat. And then again, I need the email listserv of all my constituents. So that's what I'm working on right now. And I'm almost confident you're on there. And so just give me a week or two to get that together. But right now I'm going to work on getting the Zoom link so that at least you have that and you know when you should log on and the date. It will be every third Thursday, starting on March 16th. But gotcha. I'll make it more clear for you, Rodney, and everybody.
Yeah, and again, there are other people who don't live by. We can find a way to get it out to them as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you so much, Commissioner. Let me clarify something. The sector meetings are not in person. The sector meetings are Zoom meetings, so there's a link. There's also a call-in for people who don't have a computer. So I just want to clarify that the sector meetings are not in person. They are on Zoom, and you can dial in to participate in that meeting. Okay, last but not least, we have Commissioner LaRoya Huff.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so thank you again. I did hold my first meeting at the Lamond site last month to introduce myself, to hear what's happening in the area. Did a walkthrough that prior weekend of the Eastern Star former senior residences. So I met with a small group and also Office on Buildings to get them to give a report and to also give an update, if you will, and to keep their eyes on it. And so that came out successfully. Also met with the gentleman that owns the lumber yard prior to the meeting. He came to the meeting. So I must have had maybe 30 people there at the meeting. I know that some residents couldn't come because of the funeral of a resident that lived on Quackenboss, but there was a good turnout, good engagement. That meeting was PEPCO. That was my first. My second meeting will be on the 18th. Saturdays is the time, the third Saturday of the month at Lamont Recreation Site. Again, this meeting will be at Lamont. I have to figure out how to alternate between the two, between Riggs, LaSalle Rec, and the Lamont Rec. But the next meeting will be with the Office on Buildings. I've reached out to Council Member George Lewis's office since she chairs the committee. And as residents know, there's been no movement as it relates to that site in that building itself. So we're trying to establish a relationship with the developer there to find out if in fact there are any infractions, i.e. with the building being vacant and blighted at this time. And so that will be that meeting. Welcome folks to come out. Just a couple of other updates. On Friday the 17th, there will be an entrepreneurship track at Culture Coffee 2. The time will be 10 till 2. So I welcome residents to come out and support this entrepreneurship track for returning citizens. There was also issues about shopping carts in the area. Unfortunately, when you go past New Hampshire Avenue, Giant does not pick up carts. Though I drove home through the alley at the corner where Tanya lives, and there's still a grocery cart from Giant. They do say they can pick up on the side from New Hampshire down to Riggs Road, but the side from New Hampshire to Kansas where folks had issues, they are not able to pick them up. I reached out to DPW. And so the process is you phone it in as illegal dumping and those carts will be destroyed. I've had numerous conversations with Giant and they say do not pick them up. So I'm trying to figure out, do they have a deterrent where they can't leave the lot? And I have not heard from the manager yet. So that's the update on carts. If you see carts in the community, Giant has been, when I was formerly 4B09, good about getting them. But unfortunately, where I am now, 4B10, they do not pick them up. I'd still like you to report them though, so we kind of know what's going on, but do call 311. I reached out to DDOT to get some clarity on the new traffic signal that's coming online. I want to say it's at Tuckerman. Mr. Younger wants to see some roadway crossings at Sheridan, so we will do a walk. I do have a preliminary list. We'll share that at the 18th meeting. And then when we talk about public safety, Barbara, I have a couple of things I'd like to discuss. I did talk to you earlier today about a public safety fair or resource venue in which Chromebooks will be distributed, but I'll share that at the public safety point. Are there any questions from anyone?
Any questions for Commissioner Huff?
Great. Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay, thank you so much, Commissioner Huff. Now, we have 3 presenters tonight, but right now we're gonna let Heather Rogers say something, as she is the chair of the nominating committee. For those of you all who don't know, this is election year. And so Heather, you have the floor.
Thank you, Barbara. Yeah, so it's an exciting time. This is your opportunity to run for a position to serve the LRCA members in a more formal fashion. It's a great chance to get more involved with your community and kind of give back to the folks that that have been coordinating so much. There are all of the positions are listed in the newsletter, which is available in the paper newsletter if you've gotten that, but then also on our website. You do need to pay your dues before the April meeting to be eligible to vote and to run. So you can do that. I know people will mention it, but on the website or physically with the form on the newsletter. But please, if you're interested in running, if you want to know more about any of the positions, please get in contact with me. It's Heather at LRCA. Can't even think. LRCADC.org. And I'll put that in the chat, but I'm really excited to see who runs this time. The terms are for 2 years, so you have a chance to get to know everybody and really get into it.
Thank you so much, Heather. That information, of course, is on the website. It was actually in the newsletter. In the newsletter this month, we did list all of the positions. And what will be listed in the next newsletter will be if people come up to say that they want to run for a position. So take a look at all the positions that are available, and we are encouraging the community to come out. We have some members that have been serving for a very long time. So we want to encourage all residents, new residents, get involved and to keep the legacy. We're celebrating 75 years this year. Get involved, and so we can see 100. So moving along. So thank you so much, Heather. So now we're going into our first presentation. And it is going to be presented by Danielle Lewis Wright. She is an LRCA trustee, along with as the chair of the Health and Wellness Committee. Danielle feels this is very important to provide the community with updates on the Medicaid program and how to restart Medicaid renewals. There are a lot of changes, and Danielle is going to get us up to date. Danielle, you have the floor.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much, Madam President. Put together a presentation, so it's about to appear. All right. All right, so I'm going to get started. So in terms of this presentation, I'm going to go over changes to the district's Medicaid program and restart of Medicaid eligibility. I am a trustee with our association, but I also serve as the director for the Division of Eligibility Policy with the Department of Healthcare Finance with DC government. Next slide. All right, just a quick overview of today's presentation. I'm going to go over Medicaid basics, a background on Medicaid renewals, using our integrated eligibility system called District Direct, the district stakeholder toolkit, where all of you all can be a part of getting the message out about renewal restart, key messages to our beneficiaries. And when you hear the term beneficiaries, it means anyone who is enrolled in the Medicaid program, communication and notices on Medicaid renewals, and then next steps. All right. All right. Just want to make sure that we do some level setting as it relates to Medicaid basics and what is the Medicaid program. So Medicaid is a joint federal and state health insurance program that provides comprehensive health care coverage to low-income individuals or individuals with a disability. It's important to know for district Medicaid, it is at no cost to the resident if you qualify for the program. Some services include doctor's visits, hospital care, prescriptions, mental health services, transportation, and a host of other services and supports. To be eligible for Medicaid in the district, you must be a district resident, and you also must meet non-financial and financial eligibility requirements. And I have several charts within this presentation that goes over the various income levels for certain categories. There are two primary eligibility groups. One group is known as modified adjusted gross income, which is MAGI. Not sure what's going on now. MAGI, and when you hear that term, we're speaking of four particular groups: adults without dependent children, ages 21 to 64, pregnant individuals, parent caretaker relatives, and children, youth from newborn up to age 21, or 0 to 20. Then you also hear, in terms of this presentation and maybe in the public, non-MAGI groups. And those groups include individuals who are aged, meaning 65 or older, blind or disabled, individuals who receive a supplemental security income payment or receive SSI, people seeking help with paying for their Medicare premiums, so that Part A or Part B premium that you have to pay each month if you receive Medicare. That program is called Qualified Medicare Beneficiaries, or that eligibility group. Long-term care services and supports. So that includes our home and community-based waiver program, where you have an aid in your home or certain supports in your home, or individuals who need, Mr. Egger, can you, a nursing facility care.
Mute yourself.
Next slide. All right, so just to give you an idea of what it means in terms of dollars and cents and eligibility for Medicaid. If you are a childless adult, meaning an adult without a dependent child, age 21 to 64, you can have income up to, and let's say it's yourself and a spouse, $3,533 a month and qualify for Medicaid. Let's say you're a parent and you are yourself and you have 3 children, you would be considered a household of 4, and you can have income up to $5,525 and be eligible for Medicaid in the District of Columbia. Next slide. For children, and it's important to note that DC has one of the highest levels of coverage in terms of residence and income standards. And this example for children up to age 18, if you are a household of 3, let's say a mom, a dad, and a child, you can make income up to $6,712 a month and still be eligible for Medicaid. And then let's say that you're a pregnant individual, and if you are expecting, it's yourself and the number of expecting in babies. And so at a minimum, it would be 2. If it's you and you have another child and you're expecting, you can make income up to $6,712 a month and still be eligible. Next slide. Can we advance this slide? I'm sorry. Angie, is there any way to advance? And there's some other categories to consider are our age-blind and disabled population. That again is anyone who's 65 or older. Your income can be, if you or yourself and your spouse, $1,643 a month. And then for our QMB program, and that's helping for your premiums associated with Medicare, you can make income up to $4,950, and that includes yourself and a spouse, because that would make a household of 2 and be eligible for that program. Next slide. And then I just wanted to highlight for people who may be caring for family members who need help in their home with what we call activities of daily living. You can apply for the Home and Community-Based Waiver Program, either elderly and persons with disability or our intellectual disability waiver. And if your income is, and you can be eligible for that program if your income is up to $2,742 a month. And I just wanted to make sure people understood that in terms of income standard. And then for individuals who receive an SSI payment, you are automatically eligible for Medicaid in the District of Columbia. Next slide. All right, so this is what is really important to share with you all this evening, which is the changes to the Medicaid program and the restart of Medicaid renewals. So in March of 2020, so this is the beginning of the COVID pandemic, what we refer to as the public health emergency, we temporarily waived the need for an individual who received Medicaid to have to complete an annual renewal. Also during that time, the enrollment increased for Medicaid in the district and currently stands at just over 300,000 residents. So when you think about impact, this change impacts an enormous amount of district residents. At the end of 2022, Congress passed legislation that required states to resume completing renewals effective March 31st, 2023. And so that means for the district, we will start and restart Medicaid renewals beginning January 1st of 2023. Many beneficiaries won't have updated or relevant contact information available to then send out the necessary forms that Department of Human Services or the Department of Healthcare Finance sends. And so it's required that we, and this is what we are embarking on at this moment, really encouraging residents who receive Medicaid to update their contact information if they've moved in the last 3 years. Next slide. It's also important to note that we have an eligibility system called District Direct, and that is our integrated eligibility system for Medicaid, SNAP, and TANF. And so those are what we call public assistance programs. Starting in April, and this will be on a rolling basis for the next 14 months, renewals will restart for our Medicaid programs. We also expect that of that 300,000 number, and this is good news to report, that 186,000 will be able to complete what is known as a passive renewal, and which means we will use information that we have on file to keep you information that we have on file to redetermine your eligibility, and no additional action would be required from the beneficiary. Applications that are processed through District Direct. So now we're talking about beneficiaries who may not be able to passively renew, will be mailed a renewal form, and it does require more information to be completed in that renewal form. And we estimate that to be around 46,000 district residents will have to complete that form. It's also important to note through District Direct, again, which is the integrated eligibility system, that you can update your address, complete your renewal online or through a mobile app. Also, it's important to know that we understand everyone will not be able to go online or complete their renewal using a mobile app. So you still have the opportunity to call in to complete your renewal, complete your form, and drop it off at one of the service centers throughout the District of Columbia. And there are also resources available in the community. Next slide. All right. So in terms of information and messaging, wanted to share that the Department of Healthcare and Finance website, in which I have right here on this slide, will have a stakeholder kit for the public to use. And this stakeholder kit contains information about the message of really encouraging yourself, your neighbors, or anyone who may be enrolled in Medicaid as their healthcare coverage to make sure that they are updating their contact information and also looking out for their renewal form. So I'll have information related to social media posts, drop-in articles, email and website text, and also phone call scripts. We have a call center that we will be receiving calls to address any questions, and there will also be an FAQ. Next slide. So again, if you are yourself enrolled in Medicaid, have a family member who's enrolled in Medicaid, or talking to your neighbors, we strongly encourage you to tell them not to wait. Don't wait to update your contact information. It's imperative that we have their information so that we can send the necessary forms and notices to the correct address. Also, we encourage people to check their mail. Everyone who is enrolled in Medicaid will not renew on April 1st. That's just the start of the renewal process. And then once a person receives their renewal, which is labeled, to please complete all the questions and submit it back. Next slide. All right. And so we encourage you all, this information will be posted to share information, talk to your neighbors. There will be trainings available if you want to even provide that one-on-one warm conversations with others. Identify individuals, again, yourself, family members, and then also assist individuals who may lose coverage. And it's important to note that we anticipate some people will lose coverage because they did not complete their renewal timely, but there is a 90-day grace period in which they can submit the forms. And if they're found eligible, coverage will retroactively go back to the date in which they lost coverage so that they have what we call continuity of care. Next slide.
We have about a couple more minutes left for your presentation since we have a few other things to go through. So I just wanted to let you know that.
All right, no problem. All right, in terms of communication, I just talked about the importance of making sure that, again, community members complete their renewal packet, but it's also important that the agency and the district will be calling residents, providing, if we have their information in terms of phone numbers, doing robocalls and text messages. We'll also have pop-up events. So if there's any event that you all know about and think that there would have a large number of participation, even if it's virtual, then that's really helpful information to know, and it can share with our team. And then again, we will have a call center for questions and concerns, and also to provide support with those who are completing the renewal form. All right, next slide. Okay, all right. So in summary, in terms of outreach, we will have, we'll continue to have meetings, and I'll continue to brief all of you all and share information on renewals, and also work with our president in terms of just providing information in our newsletter because of the importance of this change. We also have a website, and it's in the website that I've already posted on another slide, where it has all of the information that we've talked about in this presentation. And then next slide is an illustration of the key visual advertisements that you will see posted on buses and other mass media related to making sure that people are not waiting to update their information. Here we have a family, a senior citizen, a couple, and we wanted to really show the diversity in the district, as well as being very inclusive, because this impacts all of us. And then, all right. So in summary, the restart is April 1st, and people will be expected to renew for the next 14 months. If you have any questions, we have a dedicated email address, medicaid.renewal@dc.gov. So pretty simple. And then just in general, what do you think would be helpful to increase awareness of Medicaid renewal restart in the district? And then I have a question about how can we best engage ANCs and other civic associations. And that concludes my presentation.
Well, thank you so much, Danielle. That was a lot of information. I do have a question. The slides, is that something, or I'm just thinking something we can post on our listserv for people who weren't able to join us today? And also maybe something we can put at the recreation centers, because Lamond as well as Riggs LaSalle has a very strong senior population that goes there every week. So we can talk about that kind of offline, because I need to keep moving the agenda. Is there anybody have any questions for Danielle? But Danielle, would you be able to send me a copy of those slides?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
We have a question from the floor. Can you mention about the renewal process for seniors older than 65?
So in terms of the process, it is universal. And if you are not able to what we call passively renew, then if you are a parent, if you are under 65 or over 65, the process is the same, meaning that you would be mailed the renewal form. You would be required to complete the questions on the renewal form and return that renewal form. The renewal forms also have a dedicated page for people who want to complete it online or telephonically, and then resources to help them. But the process is the same across the board.
Any other questions?
I think there's a question from Mr. Foxworth.
Hi, Danielle. How you doing? Listen, I thought your presentation was very helpful, but I noticed that, and this is for the record, that we don't see notices of your committee meeting in the past. So my question is, would you have regular meetings in the future? And if so, can you tell us when and where? Because people would like to participate.
So we've posted in terms of meetings and even a walking group. So you can participate at any time. Really, what we want to get the message out is to ensure that the 300,000 district residents who are due to renew can renew timely to ensure that they have healthcare coverage. So I encourage everyone in this meeting to get the message out. We know that it impacts all residents in the district, and that's one of the reasons why I highlighted the various groups, which is from really birth all the way to our senior population. And so that's really what we want to hone the message most importantly for this meeting.
Okay, thank you, Danielle. We are going to actually have to move the agenda. LaRoya, did you have a question for Danielle? And if so, can you?
Yes, really quickly. So Danielle, I'd like to talk to you further. I think you guys do a great job with your agency. However, the problem I have with seniors is the difference between having Medicare versus Medicaid. Because a lot of times if you have Medicare, you don't get that in-home health care piece. And so I'd like to talk to you again about that income. I know that a lot of seniors have that barrier where they have to have a family member to supplement the hours of care that they get because they don't have Medicaid. That's been one of the larger barriers. So we have a lot of seniors who don't have the in-home care that they need. But I'll speak to you about that. But thank you very much.
Okay, if you all can connect kind of offline, but Danielle, I think your slides and any information we can put on the listserv or that we can get out to seniors would be great. Thank you so much. Great presentation. And just to let you know, we appreciate you as the chair of our health committee. All right, so we're going to move on because we have been joined by Mr. Jason Q from the DC Bar of Pro Bono. Tisha Cockrell is next with her presentation of the bylaws. And so I'm going to turn it over to you now, Tisha Cockrell.
Hello, LRCA members. I guess I'll add a little sugar to help the medicine go down. I am Tisha Cockrell. I am the chair of the LRCA Bylaws Committee. I am joined by Mr. Jason Q, who is an attorney with the DC Pro Bono Bar group. And we've been working back and forth with DC Bar Pro Bono in regards to our bylaw revisement, I guess, updates. So we presented the bylaws to the executive board on February 16th, and we sent them out to paid members because paid members will be doing the voting for our bylaws. And we plan to have a bylaw special meeting on March 20th, Monday, March 20th at 7 p.m. for the record. Okay, so that's all I have. So Mr. Q, if you would like to do your presentation or have a few words.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Jason Q. As mentioned, I'm the managing attorney at the DC Bar Pro Bono Center in our nonprofit legal assistance program. So in that capacity, I provide free legal assistance and training to nonprofits across the DMV region, and also do some training and speaking nationally. It's my pleasure to join everyone today. I think my main job is to just see if people have any questions or to field questions from Tisha or members of the committee about your bylaws and the bylaws changes and amendments that you're contemplating. I don't want to come top down and tell you what to do, because for one thing, bylaws are extremely, they're extremely tailored and sensitive to the realities of whatever organization they're functioning with. And being someone who's not super familiar with the work that the organization does day to day, I don't like to come down and say what best practices should be in an organization, but I'm very, very happy to ask questions and help guide people going forward into updating bylaws. The couple of small notes that I will make up top are, when it comes to bylaws, I always say that there's 5 overarching principles that we need to keep in mind as we're reading our bylaws and thinking about updating and moving bylaws forward. The first big principle is that bylaws should be tailored for legal compliance. Bylaws are legally required, and provisions in them help your nonprofit maintain its tax-exempt status with the IRS at the federal level, and then with the DC agencies here more locally. So that's pretty basic. The 4 other principles are a bit more functional. I always tell people clarity is super, super important in your bylaws. I want people to go through and sort of think about or highlight provisions that just aren't clear, that are confusing. The last thing bylaws should do is cause more confusion. They should answer questions, not create opportunities for confusion or misunderstanding. A third big principle is conciseness. We want them to be digestible, and there is material in bylaws that we can take out and put into governance policies, into other sort of freestanding documents to make the bylaws as tight as possible so that when new people are joining the organization, it's practical for them to actually read the bylaws and understand what they're saying in one sitting. It's realistic. But the other big principle, though, is also flexibility. And this is where I would encourage people to think for the bylaws of this organization. I'll use the example of committees. When I help a new nonprofit start from scratch and they're adopting bylaws for the first time, the default recommendation is that we don't specify any committees in the bylaws. What we say instead is that the board of directors or the members, or however your structure works, that governing body has the authority to create committees as needed. Those committees will get a charter that describe what the committee does. And then those committees can, standing committees, ad hoc committees, whatever they are, they can operate for as long as they want. And then the board can dissolve them when the board wants to. And we don't pre-specify committees in the bylaws. The reason for this is that an organization's needs will change, again, given the environment, given its size. A small organization has much different needs than a large organization. For example, a very small organization doesn't need an audit committee. A large organization might. And so what this does is it gives the organization the flexibility to adapt its committee structure as it grows and changes without having to go back and amend the bylaws every time you want to change the title of a committee, its membership, anything like that. Now, that's advice for a brand new organization. You're a very well-established organization. You've had your committee structure for a long time. I'm sure a lot of it works really, really well for you. But one question that we can ask is, which committees need to be in the bylaws, and where can we give the board flexibility to create committees as needed, but they don't have to be locked in the bylaws as a legal matter. And I just use that as an example. I don't want to pick on your committee structure. It might be perfect, I don't know. But it's an example of how we can approach bylaws and say what really needs to be in there, because we want this structure forever. We want this committee or these officers or this structure for the next 100 years. And where can we build in more guardrails and principles and leave the specifics up to the board or up to the membership on a more organic, free-flowing basis. So that's my little pitch about bylaws. Tisha, I don't know if you had specific questions that you want to ask, or if there are questions from the audience that we can move forward with about the bylaws.
I'd like to thank you, Jason. I'd like to reach out to the audience, those that have received the bylaws, as they are up-to-date paid members. If you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand via the chat function here, or *69, is it function?
It's *9 to raise your hand if you're on the phone.
Thank you, Angie.
So please ask your questions of Mr. Jason Q so that we thank him for getting on this meeting so late. And so we do want to let him go. Any questions?
Actually, I have a question. One moment.
Hi, good evening, and thank you, Ms. Q, for joining us. My question is actually for Tisha. So I did receive the bylaws as a paid member, and I just wanted some clarity on what's in it. It seems like there are some internal notes on the version that we received. So I just wasn't sure if some of the language was just recommendations that you were asking people if they wanted to provide input in. So for example, it says an audit may be required for 2023, see Robert's additional notes. Like, there are just places where it looks like it's not clear, like consider eliminating their position and adding duties to the communication committee and rename, so.
So to answer your question, yes, I am looking to have an engagement with the community when we have this open meeting. It's a public meeting. I don't make the bylaws as indefinite, and neither does the president. The board, the public body votes on these bylaws. So we want to make sure the notes were left because we did have some haggling back and forth trying to decide if that's something we should do. As you heard Mr. Jason Q said, we are not a large organization with a lot of money, but we are now a 501c3, and we are due a fund money to come in. So will we need an audit? We've never had an audit. So that was a question that came to the committee, and we want to bring it to the body. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so for example, under financial secretary, request body to eliminate role. So is that something that will be done at the special meeting?
That'll be something that'll be discussed at the special meeting.
Okay.
The committee suggested that it be removed. I feel like, or we felt like, I won't say we felt like we should discuss it with the body and see if that's actually a thing that should take place.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for
I see
Mr. Q?
I see Robert's hand up.
Yeah, I'll make this very quick, and this is for Mr. Q. I may have misheard you, but I understand that there were 5 issues you wanted to discuss with about creating a bylaw, and if that's true, I only have 4, which is you want it tailored for legal compliance, you want clarity, you want conciseness, you want flexibility, and is there a 5th tenet?
Yeah, there's a 5th one that I'm less concerned about. I should have mentioned it, which is about sort of completeness, whether the bylaws are in fact addressing the day-to-day needs of the organization. I guess one question that is worth thinking about is, are there practices in the organization today? I think these were last adopted in 2015. So have practices evolved over the last 8 years that are perhaps in conflict with the bylaws or not covered by the bylaws? And if so, one of those things needs to change. We should either update the bylaws to match what our current practices are, or we should change our current practice to revert back to what's in the bylaws. But we don't want there to be a conflict between practice and bylaws, because that could lend a question of legitimacy to some of those actions. I find that a lot of the times what people are doing in the real world, it's for a reason, it's more efficient, it's usually the better way to be going forward. And usually the answer is to amend the bylaws, to modernize them and have them sync up with your actual practice. Tisha, can I make a quick note about the secretary's question?
Sure, and I have a question for you actually also, but go ahead.
Sure, let me say really quickly about the secretary. So this organization has at least three secretaries, right? We have a financial secretary, recording secretary, and a corresponding secretary. This is the way that I would think through this issue, which is that you could collapse those jobs into one position. We could get rid of some of those functions altogether. The question really ask yourself is it working to have those spread out amongst three separate people? The challenges I can see there are finding enough people to fill those positions, the sort of training and on-ramping that has to happen when you have three different people that need to be brought in. And also there could be a lack of coordination, some overstepping or understepping. There could be gaps that someone thinks someone else is doing. So I think it is wise to go forward thinking, should we be simplifying that structure a little bit more and probably reducing it to maybe just one secretary?
That's exactly the issue. My question for you, Jason, is there were different kinds of, I guess, new titles for president, vice president, more modern titles. Is there any way you can send us those new titles and we can list them in the new bylaws?
You know, I actually don't. I'm not quite sure which more modern titles that you were thinking of or that you discussed with other people. I think president, vice president, treasurer, secretary, those are still the most common titles in the nonprofit space. Some organizations use the term chair interchangeably with the term president.
Yeah.
So you have chair and vice chair. That's fine. But for me, that's an aesthetic difference and it doesn't bother me too much. I will actually point out one semantic difference that may be relevant is that, you know, sometimes we talk about the board, and when we talk about boards, the members of those boards are called directors. Your bylaws use the term trustees, which is a term that we use pretty commonly here in the Mid-Atlantic DC region, but nationally the term is directors, and more modern organizations and bylaws will refer to directors instead of trustees. So one change you could consider is whether to switch over to the term directors instead of the term trustees for those individuals who are on your board. Something to think about. Doesn't confuse me, but it can confuse people who are maybe a little less familiar in the nonprofit space or have worked with other nonprofits where the word director is more common.
Okay,
Great.
thank you for that. There's a couple of questions in the chat. Since I'm the chair, I would like to address them.
And if you have a question from the phone again, you can hit *9 to raise your hand.
So Rodney Foxworth has the first question. If folks pay their dues now, they can vote in the bylaws meeting, right? And how will the meeting be announced? FYI, there's nothing in the bylaws that excludes the meeting from being open to the public. So I'll address that question. If you pay your dues now and we have a record of it before the 20th, you will receive a copy of the bylaws and you can attend the meeting for voting. Your second question is, these are new bylaws. So as we're changing the bylaws, we also have created this rule. Second question, if you're only taking verbal questions from paid members, how is one individual here allowed to speak? That individual is the Friends of the Library president and therefore a corporate member. That's the end of my answering the questions. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Jason Q before we?
And there's one more from Rodney, if you'd like to address that, Tisha.
Hold on, I'm sorry, I didn't see it. It's in the Q&A now?
Yes.
Give me a moment. That's the first one. I read that one.
Okay.
It's Yushena. Can I ask another question?
If you must.
Oh, okay. I can also
Sure.
email Tisha. I don't know if this was outside the scope of what you all were tasked with, but I was wondering if you all discussed at all the registered agent issue, just with the transition between administrations every 2 years, and if that is something that was discussed.
I'm sorry, I missed it.
So for tax purposes, the organization needs to have a registered agent, and there are filing deadlines. And so since the organization is, it has this turnover every 2 years, theoretically. And so I was just wondering if, as part of this process, there was any discussion about having a way to have a more standard or permanent registered agent so that as the administrations are changing, things don't get lost in that process for tax purposes.
That's a good point. Yeah.
I'll address that with the policy papers that we were informed or I guess, what's the word? I guess asked to add to our bylaws. The policy papers, according to DC Pro Bono, kind of push forward things that are in the bylaws, such as transition information being disseminated in a timely fashion and things of that nature. So if we actually work toward making that consistent, then that should alleviate that issue.
We have 3 other questions.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Q? If not, we are going to let Mr. Q go. And again, thank you so much for getting on the meeting so late. We really appreciate all the help you've given us. Whenever Tish reach out, you always respond, and we really, really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much for that.
Are you able to entertain 3 more questions?
Yeah.
Are the questions for Mr. Q or for Tish?
We have one from Yushena, Ms. Johnson, and one from Mr. Oliver. So
I saw Mr. Oliver's, but I think Mr. Oliver should be, you shouldn't have asked hers. Mr. Oliver should probably be posed to Jason if he has time.
Yeah, I can do questions for me. Sure.
Okay, thank you.
If I have the floor, I just wanted to ask Mr. Q, just to differentiate between articles of incorporation versus bylaws for everyone in general? Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, sure. So most nonprofits have at least two major sources of governing documents. Articles of incorporation are filed at the initial incorporation of your nonprofit. They're the older, kind of more fundamental document. They're almost like the founding papers or the declaration or the constitution of the nonprofit. So those are the original documents that are filed with DC government to create the nonprofit, and they will set forth really high level principles about what the nonprofit's mission is and that it's going to abide by DC law and IRS law that applies to nonprofit organizations. It might have some few details in there about what your board looks like and some operational details, but it really should be as broad as possible because articles, even more than bylaws, are very difficult to amend and they shouldn't be something that we're touching all the time. So one thing to think about when it comes to articles is just to make sure that what is in there does match your bylaws, because articles will override your bylaws if there's any kind of conflict. So if there is something outdated in the articles, they should be updated. But yes, as we're going through this bylaws review process, we should be making sure that those two are synced up and that there's no conflict. Bylaws are more detailed operational instructions for how the organization is run. So it's going to handle more of the day-to-day stuff than the articles will be addressing.
And I did just want to mention the last time these bylaws were updated was actually 2008. Is that correct, Tisha?
It is correct. They were up, actually, I don't know if they were updated, but they were definitely revised, I suppose,
Right,
during
in 2008. Okay, next question.
Next question was Yushena.
Actually, it looks like Laverne.
Yeah, Miss Johnston.
Hi, I just wanted to know if you have paid your dues but have not received them, how do you go about getting them?
I will go ahead and check the membership status and go ahead and send that over to you.
Okay, thank you.
And then lastly, Yushena.
I asked mine. Thank you so much.
Okay, sorry about that.
So I would like to say, if you wish to vote on March 20th, please pay your dues. You can pay them via PayPal online on the website at www.lrcadc.org, or you can mail your dues into the post office box. I guess someone can put the post office box in the chat, and or you can reach out to the president and arrange for someone to from the board to pick them up. Probably the membership chair, correct? Or the treasurer, I believe.
Okay, thank you, Tish. We'll let Mr. Jason Q go. Thanks again. We appreciate everything.
My pleasure. Take care.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
All right, now Tish, you're not doing a presentation? That was your presentation?
That was the presentation. Whomever
Okay.
did not get the bylaws, they can reach out. I see people in the chat are asking. They'll get a copy. They'll have from now until the 20th to review them, consider any questions they want to bring to the meeting, and we'll go from there.
Okay, thank you so much. Any other questions for Tisha Cockrell? We do have one more presentation, and then we're gonna do the budget. The next presentation is actually gonna be from the Development Task Force. They were on last month, and we were having some issues with actually what our goal was to show the new rendering of the green space that is in front of Food and Friends. So hopefully we will not have any any issues tonight. I just think that we're excited for you all to see what the new rendering will look like, and I think people will have a better understanding. It's kind of hard to visualize until you see the rendering. So Miss Deborah, is Deborah on?
Deborah, unmute yourself.
I did it already. I did it twice.
Okay, you're unmuted now, Deborah.
Thank you.
The floor is yours.
Slide 1, please. I'm speaking to Angie. So you're all familiar with the intersection of Riggs Road at South Dakota Avenue, and you might have known that for decades, a plot of land has been at the intersection and nothing going on in it. That's the site. Angie, can you go to page 1, please? Thank you. That's the site of the green space that we've been talking about. I believe I only have 5 minutes for this presentation, so I'm going to have to skip some slides in order to meet that timeline.
Yeah, I don't think excuse me, Deborah, I'm sorry. Yeah, we don't need to show anything we've shown. I really just want people to see the new rendering is what we weren't able to show last time. That's what we want people to see. We don't need to redo the presentation.
Okay, page 5 then, Angie, please. That's an aerial rendering that a landscape land design firm did for us of a potential for the site plan for a park and that green space. There is no budget for this park. This is just one idea, and there could be many other ideas. And this is not an opportunity to submit your suggestions for the type of playground equipment that is shown in the rendering. The Department of Parks and Recreation has robust guidelines for community engagement regarding parks. This is just an example of what could happen at that intersection at the green space. Next slide, please. You might remember that back in the day, before 2011, there was a flyway that connected eastbound Riggs Road with southbound South Dakota Avenue. This rendering makes that into a paved trail for people to use. So the light pink arrows are showing the connections for getting around the site. The figure 8 on its side, that could be a walking trail if you do 7.7 laps. Next slide, please. The design firms divvied up the land into active and passive parts. And you see passive, you might not be able to read it, but it says view art and relax on the lawn. So that's not where you have people being active and jumping up and down. Whereas the bright pink spaces, you have exercise stations, climbing, yoga, and all these activities that showed up in this rendering are based on the feedback that the community gave us when we did our survey last fall of what would the community like to have in this space. We don't have details at this point about where's the fence, what color is the bush, what color is the bench, what color is the playground equipment. This is not a construction diagram. This is just a concept illustration of what could be done with that space. Next slide, please. And you see there again, it says fitness course. So there's part of that figure 8 that I was mentioning. And then you have the workout area on the left and a play area on the right. The next slide is the aerial view, but not top down, but more an angle where you're looking on the left at southbound, going south on South Dakota Avenue. So you might get a better sense of the sections of the green space that are divided into the active, the passive, and so forth. The white building on the upper right of the rendering, that's the Food and Friends facility. The next slide, please, is a use of what could happen on that path, that figure 8 I mentioned, but from a different angle. If people jogging, you can have people cycling on the path. The next slide is a close-up of potential equipment features for children to play on in the active space portion of the green space. So you see the woman running by, the play area, the active space is fenced off, and the track you're looking at is still part of that figure 8 track that I mentioned before. Those are illustrations of what could possibly happen sometime in the future, not this year, not even next year, because it would have to go through a whole lot of Department of Parks and Recreation planning and meetings and their architects. But this is just to show you that there is potential for that little, what seems like a really tiny piece of land, but a lot can go on there. Not all at the same time, but it could be used for a lot of different activities.
We do have a question on the floor. It's asking, what is the safety grade for the rendering?
The safety grid?
Grade.
The safe degree?
Grade, grade.
Oh, the safety grade. There is no safety grade for the rendering. This rendering does not consider how often can the police come by, which areas will be 1 foot higher than the other area. Those kinds of questions are not represented in this rendering.
As Deborah said earlier, what this says is, as they say, 1 picture is 1,000 words. And so to shop this with the various council members, such as Trayon White, who's in charge of the Departments of Park and Recreation, in terms of Janice Lewis, George Lewis, who's in charge of DSG, and other areas. This is to give them an idea of what is possible. This is not necessarily going to be reality. And once this land is moved under the Department of Parks and Rec, as Deborah said earlier, they have their own planning system, their own methodology, and they will make these hard decisions. But this right now is just a snapshot of what is possible, but not necessarily a reality at this point.
Okay, we just really wanted to show you the rendering because we did not get a chance to show it to you at the last meeting. As we said, this is just the beginning. There will be, I'm sure, changes in the future. This will not happen this year. It probably won't even happen next year. But we just wanted to show you that progress is being made. The Development Task Force is doing a great job of moving the ball, moving the needle. So I do want to thank the Development Task Force for their great work. Do we have any more questions? If not, I know that there was a question about if you did not get a bylaw. If you have paid your dues and you did not get a copy of the bylaws, Tish, should they email you?
They should email me so I can verify everything and then I'll get that out to them.
Yeah, I was gonna say they should reach out to Angie first so she can verify, and then
okay,
Angie can give them a copy or reach out to me to give them a copy.
Okay, Angie, just put your email in the chat. So again, if you are a paid member and you did not receive a copy of the bylaws, our apologies for the oversight, but just send Angie an email. All right, so we're now going to, I see that a few people, is Edwin still on? It looks like he put all his information, so he may be had to leave. But and then Miss Barbara Carter for the 75th, she had to leave as well. But that information is in the chat. And Miss Barbara is basically saying that she put the flyer in there, which we'll get out to the rec centers and put on the listserv. She said that she just wanted to say that the committee continues to plan for the celebration and encourages everyone to support We're reaching out to businesses. We want to make this free this year. And so, yeah, that's what she had to say. All right. Oh, Edwin is here.
Yes, he is here. And then we have another question from Rodney, a question from Mr. Grimstead.
Okay, go ahead, Edwin.
Yes, good evening. Thank you so much, President Rogers. I did put the information in the chat that I wanted to share because I saw that time was moving along, but I will be getting in touch with Ms. Carter. I think our board wants to have some discussion about perhaps for the 75th doing an ad or so for the Main Street to say in support of. And you'll see in the chat that I mentioned about Culture Coffee, our grants, our annual meeting that's certainly coming up on the 16th. Will be at the Lamond-Riggs Citizens Association. But I did put my information, email and the like in the chat. So if anyone has any questions or anything. But I did want to highlight, we did receive a grant from the Office of Planning for commemorative works relating to Ward 5. And so we'll be having engagement discussions with the Civic Associations, ANC commissioners, and certainly residents on what areas of a person, place, or an event that would be worthy of commemoration. So there'll be some more discussion on that.
Okay, Mr. Robert should mute them, whoever Robert, Mr. Oliver, mute yourself. Thank you so much, Edwin. Any questions for Edwin? And thank you so much for mentioning Culture Coffee. For those of you all who are on here, Culture Coffee 2 will be closing at the end of the month. However, as you all know, Miss V, she's going out with a bang. And she has an event for the community to come out on March 18th. And I think we posted that to our listserv as well. But please go by there and say hello to Miss V. We will definitely miss her. Any questions for Edwin? Okay, we're gonna move on to the budget. Angie, are you ready to present the budget?
I am.
And we're going to try to do this quickly. It is almost 9 o'clock, and I do thank the people who have stayed on for this.
Okay, would you like to walk this through? Would you like me to walk this through or walk through this? President Rogers.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Would you like to go through this or would you like me to walk through this quickly?
I can't even see it, so you will have to go through
So,
it. It looks very small to me, so you would need to go through it.
I will make this a little bit larger, so hopefully perhaps you can see it. I don't know how much better it's going to be, but I will speak it out. For our budget, it's very similar to last year's budget. If you are able to see the print on the screen, you see that we've broken everything up into buckets: communications and marketing, scholarship program, association memberships, dues that has come in, program committee program expenses, and then awards and recognitions, which is a program that we do at the end of each year just to recognize those who have volunteered or participated in the organization. For that final listing, you'll note that we have allotted $50 just for the printing of materials and sourcing of materials. I'll scroll up to the top. You'll see that our communications marketing includes all of the aspects of what we do with communications, given that we are primarily electronic. We have funding directed towards Zoom, the webinar that we're using tonight, as well as the meeting setup that we use. Our domain hosting, domain would be the lrcadc.org web address. The website hosting, so where does our website live physically? We pay for that. Any maintenance, that maintenance was actually paid for by the LRCA, the grant that we received from the ANC 4B. And then we also noted the ANC 4B grant, which was used for communication expenses. We also have in there newsletter printing. That printing for the most part, is paid by our sponsors of the organization. So we listed that line item there as well. And then any direct mail pieces that we use, in this case, direct mail would relate back to our post office box. And we have our expense listed there, which is an amount of $230. Below that, we have the scholarship program. Right now, we have allotted or budgeted $4,000 to go to that program. And then we'll also add any dollars that we receive from sponsorships or from donations from the community. I'll scroll down and hopefully you're able to see this. We have an allotment for association memberships. The membership that we pay to is the DC Federation of Civic Associations in the amount of $100. The next few line items, and then I want to try to get through this quickly. So if you have any questions, do ask me about that. We have the membership dues that we receive both via check or electronically. And then any deposits or donations that we would have received either by check or electronically to the tune of about $2,500. And then we have a line item for a PayPal giving fund. That's just a little allotment that PayPal gives to us since we are an organization, or listed as an organization in the PayPal portal. The next set of line items pertains to the events. Our main event this year is the 75th anniversary. For the 75th anniversary, we are really looking to sponsorships to help us fund the event. We don't want to use any of the current funding. So that is basically donations and sponsorships is how we will pay for the event this year. And then again, I noted before the awards and recognition, $50 going to that just for certificates and any work that that we need to distribute those certificates out to people. Are there any questions for us? Again, go ahead and raise your hands if you have any questions. And if you are on the phone, feel free to hit *9 to raise your hand and we will allow you to ask a question.
Okay, it is actually 9:02. Do you see any hands? If not, I want to thank everybody for staying on to 9:03. You could be doing a lot of other things or getting ready for bed. So we really appreciate all of you all. And again, if you didn't get the bylaws, email Angie. If you're a paid member, we'll give you a copy of the bylaws. The original bylaws are actually on the website. But
line item, we do have a question about not being able to see, obviously. Will we be able to publish this publicly or will that be going to members?
What is that?
The budget.
Oh, yeah, if we can send the budget to a paid member.
Okay.
And we could put it on the website because we're a 501c3. It is public information. So anything else, Angie, in the any other questions, legitimate questions?
Yes, if there are any questions, please raise your hand. I don't see any hands raised. If you're on the phone, hit *9 and we will entertain your question.
Okay, it is actually 9:04. We are going to adjourn this meeting. I want to thank you all again for staying on the meeting, being supportive of the great work that LRCA and this community that we're doing together. Remember, if we stick together, we will be good. So again, thank you all and good night.